Hello, magnificent woman. My name is Kigeni, and for the last few years, I have been working with women, and I'm really surprised the common issues we all share across the board. And I think this year's theme for the International Women's Day is all about having to challenge ourselves, having to challenge the status quo, and having to challenge the societies, the paradigms, the ways of thinking, and God knows how back it goes. Not quite sure. And let's be honest, we've gone through the Me Too movement, which was not too long ago. And what people are realizing is that even though these were issues people were not so open to talk about, which actually meant people were afraid of the repercussions. Because in the past, you find anytime a woman will come across as a victim, then your issue is actually compounded. It's not made any easier. You're left to be blamed and things like that. But what now we're seeing with Me Too movement is people going like, you know what, I do not mind how I'll be perceived, but I will not let this person get to office without people knowing this is what they did, because I worked as an intern there, or I did this, or I was a student in that school, and this is what happened to me. So I think I'm giving a big, really big shout out, because I think all of us as women right now, we're starting to share our stories. We're starting to realize the barriers we have to push forward through. For example, in my case, I worked in engineering, and I do remember the sexism, the racism, the discrimination sometimes you face. Was it was it the norm? I do not know, but you can tell that you lose a lot of goodwill. You lose a lot of good people who could work and contribute to their workplace simply because they're a woman or they're a woman of color, because that's usually compounded. So we're finding a lot of more people are starting to ask the question. People are starting to challenge the way things have been done. Is this the right way? And I know, for example, in my own example, in my own experience, some of the racism I could also face in the workplace could also come from the white women. So what I'm trying to say, we do understand even the white women experience the same discrimination of sexism, which means you may be looked upon for your beauty, and that's not the only reason. I've had people say, "Oh, the only way she got to the top is because she spread her legs." Like, why is it even at this time, 21st century, when you have so many educated people? So many educated people, why do we still have that thinking in our collective consciousness as a humanity? And I think this is the cancer that's underlying. There has just been an energy throughout the years, throughout the centuries, to suppress women, generally across all cultures, across the globe. I'll give you a few examples. I was working with a client last week, and she was trying to overcome and certain obstacles that she struggled with for decades. And we had to do a deep kind of regression, because we knew whatever issue we needed to change was in her deep bedded memory. And do you know what came up, which I'd like to share with you? She realized there was a story that had been shared with her family, that her great 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 grandmother had been burnt at the stake. Now, this is a woman in the 21st century. Chances of that happening to her is very rare. However, that memory had been passed on, and she'd carried a sort of a fear of, any time I put myself out there, things may not work out for me. But this was starting to affect her business. This is affecting her family. This is affecting her love life. And what I wanted to share with you today, being the woman, is the memories we carry, intergenerational trauma of, be it abuse. Think of it when you look at the stories like in Britain, when women were forced to wear the skull's bridle, which is a piece of metal that worked like a helmet with sharp pits just to silence her. And if she moved her tongue in any way, it will cut her. You can Google it. Scold's bridle. SCOLDBRIDLE. And that was done to silence women. And whenever a woman had it on, the whole street will know who was being silenced. It was a mark of shame. It was to embarrass you. Children, men, strangers, visitors, foreigners will know that's the woman who's been silenced. The burning of witches had nothing to do with burning of witches. It had to do with the burning of women. Most of these people we've come to realize, my favorite story being Joan d'Arc. Joan d'Arc. People call her Joan of Arc, but yeah, after she was touched by the British, she doesn't like using John. She prefers her French name anyway. But interesting thing, you see with such stories whereby women who are revolutionary, women of courage, women who stood up to the face of fear and changed nations, challenged 100-year war when she was only 19, and she started when she was 17. But what did they do? Burn her out at the stake. Do you know what happened to her 500 years later? She's now a saint by the Catholic Church, the same church that touched her. The burning of women was also another deep, deep memory we carry, and the pain. And last but not final, so we've got the Me Too movement, we've got the burning of women and the silencing of women. And now the last thing is not allowing women rights to their own bodies. Women are still looked upon as some kind of a property. Coming to Africa, I've come from a culture where FGM is still prevalent. Some of these young girls do not even have a choice who they marry or to have their beads cut off. And people not even having the awareness or the openness to challenge certain traditions that may no longer be suitable in the modern era, even when they see the complications it causes years later. Do you know what has always bothered me with the idea of FGM? Because it was never a woman's idea. There is no woman who sat down and said, I need to cut my beads out. It was a man's idea. And we took it and we clothed it. To this day, we're still wearing the chastity belts around us. No, it's not real. It's energetic. It's an energetic chastity belt to suppress your creativity, to suppress your womb, to suppress your sacredness and the source of your power. I hope by now I have made you question a few things. I've made you think about what are we really fighting? Because now moving forward, I wish you courage. I wish you courage to challenge systems that are no longer working. I give you courage to move forward and realize every time you're pushing that barrier, you're doing it for all women, not just for yourself. And for children's coming and children of your children who are going to come, and their journey will be a bit simpler and easier because you pushed the barrier. And right now, we'll be able to support other women when they do this because we'll do this together. This is Kageni, founder of The Magnificent Woman, because I do believe, and I strongly do believe and hope, that women are the future.